And we're live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to BWTM Sports. If you haven't subscribed already, please hit the subscribe button. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do hit the subscribe button. You remember what I said to you all about a week ago? Either about a week ago. I did a video. And no, it would have been a week ago because the week announcement was this week. I did a week, about 2 weeks ago. It was 2 weeks, I said. And I said to you all that Eddie Hearn had an announcement to make in America. And the announcement in America would be that he put in on shows. And I said there'd be a new app that was coming out. And I said that this would then trigger the fighters that would move from Heyman to Hearn because of Matchroom being able to have more fighters. Said that was going to be the announcement. That more or less was right, wasn't it? And I also said during that time that Wilder versus Joshua negotiations were close to complete. Basically, there was an agreement that Joshua was going to face Wilder and Wilder was going to fight Joshua, and that there would be an announcement. And I also said that this fight was going to take part at the T-Mobile Arena. So it happens, the news is now dropping that Joshua is about to pen to paper to fight Wilder at the T-Mobile Arena. But I did say this to you, I think earlier this week, that Joshua more or less confirmed in an interview with Pep Talk UK that he will be fighting Wilder next. So for those people who want me to give you the sources, unless you're going to pay me a damn good set of money, you're going to have to pay me a hell of a lot of money. But even if you did pay me that money, there's still no guarantee I'll tell you who the source was. All I will say is that source was pretty reliable. So now you will just to wait and see what happens next. But T-Mobile Arena, late November, December time, Wilder Joshua, it's the next fight up. And you'll just have to wait and see when the mainstream media give you the official confirmation. But you've heard it here from me. But I've basically been pretty bang on with my times. Told you about Eddie Hearn, what was going to happen there. Now told you about this situation as well with Joshua and Wilder, and also updated you when Joshua said he was going to face Wilder. So more or less it's going to happen now. So I know. Who'll win, Joshua Wilder? Well, I'm going Wilder at the moment for me. Interesting that they're taking the fight in the US. What's Eddie been going on about? Well, T-Mobile Arena. Remember I said the T-Mobile Arena before. I said the T-Mobile Arena before, and I'll say it again. I'm going to go with a guy who is the lighter guy. I'm going to go with the guy who's more flexible. I'm going to go with a guy who's got better punching power. Joshua comes in straight lines, doesn't move his head. And I can't see him getting out of the way of a Wilder right hand. I just can't see it. And I think that Wilder's fought better boxers than Joshua, to be honest. He's had a different styles. Fighting Luis Ortiz for me was the nail in the coffin for me that made me think, you know what, this guy Wilder's got to be taken very seriously. And I said he'd knock Ortiz out, and he went on and did that. You know, a guy that you know, a lot of the people in the fighters in the world didn't want to face, and was considered the bogeyman in the division. I think once you've beaten the bogeyman in the division, there's nothing stopping you. So I think Wilder's getting better as a fighter, and yeah, full credit to Deontay Wilder. You know, you can't go, and Adam Scott's right. Wilder's the hardest hitting in the world. Can't go against him. I can't go against him. No way. Say what you want about his style. Say what you want, he's wild. But hey, the same people who want knockouts The same people that complain about Tyson Fury being boring because he's a stylist. So Tyson Fury is a stylist, you complain about him. You get Wilder knocks everybody out, you complain and says, well, he throws punches like a windmill. So what do you want? You tell you about Joshua, he's got big muscles, but he's slow and he's robotic. What do you want? I'm fed up. Has Joshua re-signed with Eddie? You think he will leave Matchroom? I think he's signing a deal that's worth 100 million. That's what something like that. Some sort of deal with to re-sign on, something like that. That's what I heard, but ridiculous numbers. But hey, I'm real happy for Joshua though. He's doing what he's got to do. So, you know, congratulations if he does do that. But, you know, yeah. So I think that's about it. I wanted to say, oh, for those people who watch here and don't know about my own personal YouTube channel, check it out. It's Ingram Jones, Ingram Jones, Jones. Check it out. Subscribe to my channel on YouTube. I'm going to be there for a while, putting some things together before the move. They were saying it generates more money in Vegas in terms of pay-per-view. Yes. AJ is going to school him early, but when he gasses, Wilder will KO him. I don't see AJ schooling anybody, but you know, everyone's entitled to their opinion. But I can't see AJ schooling Wilder. I can't see him schooling Wilder. I can't see him schooling Wilder. You know, I just can't see that happening. You know, I didn't think he schooled Parker. So you know. There'll be no referees in the UK, in America, doing him any favors. That's for sure. And the protection he's had in the UK, he won't have in America. All the luxuries he's had in the UK, he won't have in America. And if anyone's going to have luxuries, it's going to be Wilder. And that is, you know, that will go to Wilder's advantages rather than Joshua. You know, Joshua may be left out to his own devices when he's out in America, because this will be the first time he fights out in America as a pro. And I personally would advise Joshua, if they're fighting your first fight as a pro for the undisputed heavyweight championship, well, I wouldn't advise it. I wouldn't advise it. I would like to see Joshua take a fight or two in America, get himself adjusted and get himself acclimatized to fighting in America, the time zones, all the different things he'd have to deal with in a big fight, and then fight Wilder. I think going in and fight Wilder now, I think is an uphill battle. It really is. You know, going to America and fighting now, don't think it's a good idea. For the fans, it's great, but I wouldn't advise him to be fighting now. He should be having an interim fight. So Jarrell Miller fight probably would have been a good fight for Joshua. Say what you want about Jarrell Miller, but it's the exercise of going out to America, fighting in America, getting used to the time zones, acclimatizing. If it's Las Vegas, then the heat, different things you need to deal with, the food, the water. It's different. And if you travel, you understand that. KLOL protection. Says, research Wilder's fights before the KO comes. He's clueless. He's clueless. The last time I checked, he was unbeaten in 40 fights, 39 by KO. That doesn't sound like a clueless fighter to me. Sounds like a guy who's pretty clued up. Great stuff, Ingram. You're the top UK boxing reporter, no doubt. Will the winner face Tyson? Who is Tyson going to fight next? I heard a story going around, and I sincerely hope it's not true, that Tyson Fury is going to fight Michael Sprott. Now, I hope that's just a rumor. I hope that's just one of those silly rumors that have popped up and people are laughing at. I hope it's not true. But it's a bit worrying that now we're the 17th of May, we still don't know who Tyson Fury is fighting. Not great. Gary Cornish is the guy that I'd like to see Tyson Fury fight. I would love to see Tyson. I mentioned Gary Cornish as a potential opponent for Tyson Fury. I think it's the perfect opponent for Tyson. Somebody said, oh, but he's chinny. I said, but if you're matching Tyson, you've got a guy that's tall, he's big. I mean, he's work rate's okay. He's in the British top 10, I think. He's just fought for the British title. and lost. He didn't get sparked in that. Sexton didn't spark him. So Sexton just got sparked by Hughie Fury. So, I mean, if Tyson Fury could go on and fight Gary Cornish, if Cornish was to take him 3-4 rounds, fair enough. I think Gary Cornish would be a good opponent for Tyson on the comeback, bearing in mind Tyson hasn't been in the ring for so long. And just a word on Tyson Fury, comeback, and a word on Tyson Fury. A lot of these people, it's amazing, they've gone from 0 to 100 in one fight. A lot of these people, if you go back in the comment section, before Tyson Fury fought Vladimir Klitschko, he was had 2 left feet, he was fat, useless, uncoordinated, and all these things about Tyson Fury. He then goes and beats Klitschko, and he's the second coming of Muhammad Ali. One fight. These people, same people that after Hughie Fury lost lost to Joseph Parker, can't box, he's crap, he's this, he's that. Hughie knocks Sexton out, and they're still going on about him being crap and this and the other. Hughie goes on and beats one of these guys, then he'll be the second coming of Muhammad Ali, Joe Louis, Sugar Ray Robinson, George Foreman. He'll be all those wrapped into one. I'm sick of it. It's just ridiculous. People should have some balance. Do you think Joshua is overrated? Overrated? I don't think you can say he's overrated. He may have been given a higher weight of expectation on him by some of the reckless commentators, and those that should know better in the sport, leading people up a garden path. But I don't think he's overrated. I think he's got the titles, so you can't say he's overrated. You've got to rate him for that. But all-time greatest British fighter, all that sort of stuff, no. But I think he should be rated. Overrated, no. What's your view on Hughie and Tyson not speaking terms after Tyson parted for his uncle? Well, my honest opinion, I think Peter's already said it. But sometimes, if people expect families to talk about what's gone on behind closed doors openly, why would they do that? What business is it to me or you? But if you listen carefully to Peter's interviews, the ones he's done with me, he more or less has said what the situation is. If you listen carefully to his interviews, instead of trying to, if you really want to know the information, go back and listen to the interviews. Listen to what he says. Do you not think Hughie should fight Joyce or Dubois? No. I think that's his level. That's your opinion. I don't think he should fight Dubois or Joyce. And jolly good job you're not a boxing promoter. I think Hughie should go on the path that he's going. I think he should fight for the European title. I think he should try and get himself into the top 5. I think he should try and push for a fight against Manwar Shah or go fight for the WBA title. That's what I think Hughie Fury should be doing. I don't think he should be fighting with Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce, the fight beforehand, nobody gave a damn about Joe Joyce. He knocks out Leroy Thomas because Leroy Thomas, in the first fight, beat Dave Allen, and the second fight was a cut. But who's Leroy Thomas? What made Leroy Thomas this world beater? I don't understand it. I don't get it. One fight, he's suddenly a world beater. And then if Joyce gets chinned in his next fight because they took him too fast, they say Joyce, he's too slow and he was a bit of a robot. And so he beats Joe Joyce. He beats a guy who has 4 fights. What do you gain from that? Or you might pick up the Commonwealth title. But you beat a guy who had 4 fights. Really? Really? Hughie Fury was a world gold. He won the world gold world championships, the gold medal, right? He has nothing to prove. It's certainly not fighting Joe Joyce. If Joe Joyce is that good, then I think Joe Joyce and Hughie Fury fight can be held a little later. Who's the bigger star, Anthony Joshua or Conor McGregor? Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor's fought. He's fought abroad. I think he's fought around the world. Conor McGregor. You think he's fought in Ireland? Yeah, McGregor's fought in Ireland and he's fought in the US. So you got to say Conor McGregor. Plus, he's fought pound for pound the best fighter in the world at the time, Floyd Mayweather. So yeah, I don't think Joshua's ever fought pound for pound, the best fighter in the world. So, yeah, Conor McGregor, absolutely. What's your view on Tony Bellew? Is he world class? Listen, I've always said Tony Bellew was a good fighter. I've always said Tony Bellew was a good fighter. I said he always took ages to throw that right hand, but he seemed to be throwing it quite quickly against David Haye. So I think Tony Bellew is a fighter that's getting better. I've always thought he was a good fighter. I think he capitalized on David Haye being unable to fight off the back foot and use his back foot and always everything on the front foot. He was able to capitalize on a shell of David Haye, but he capitalized on it. That's what it's about. That's what Steve Collins did. You know, he capitalized on, you know, Eubank and Ben when they're at the tail end of their careers. He capitalized on that, and Bellew's done the right thing. He beat Makabu for a vacant title, but still WBC title. He ducked out the cruiserweight division when it was necessary. Got a fight against Haye. He secured his family. He's made lots of money from it. Good. Fair play to Tony Bellew. Joe Joyce made a statement about battering Ian in his first fight. In 10 fights, he'll do far more. He'll be more advanced than Fury. I'm happy for that. LOL. Who wins, Loma or Mikey? Well, if Mikey Garcia hits Lomachenko with that right hand that Linares caught him with, could be interesting. But you know what? I think Mikey Garcia, for all the talking, Mikey Garcia, he's very vulnerable to right hands. So it'll be interesting. I think it'll be a good fight. Why do you think Haye continued to fight when he should have retired? Maybe you should ask the missus. A divorce is not something, not that I experienced having a divorce, but, you know, if depending on what the terms of the divorce was, surely money would have been the issue. And, of course, he's got a promotional outfit as well. So that was a fast way for him to make money. He's trying to fast-track Joyce. Obviously, that isn't fast enough, so he gets to go back in and box. So that's why I think Haye's fighting still. That's the only reason. It isn't because he loves it. He might tell you he loves boxing, but no. You think he was enjoying getting his head scrambled or beaten up or punched in the face or getting dropped by Tony Bellew. And his career will end, or has been ended, by Tony Bellew. And David Haye has to go to bed at night with Tony Bellew, the guy he said was the worst champion in history, beating him twice. If it turns out to be true, it is beginning at the end of AJ. The end. Faux AJ, as Wilder is going to lay him out like a carpet. Selby or Warrington? You know what? Selby is the more talented boxer, all right? But Selby hasn't looked spectacular and great for a while. Selby just looks, he's all right. He's done nothing spectacular. He's all right. Selby needs to be spectacular against Warrington. Or if he's not spectacular against Warrington, I see Warrington beating him. So he's got to look spectacular because he's the better boxer. Again, Selby, my biggest problem with Lee Selby is his when he fights, he leaves his chin in the air and he pulls straight back from punches. If I'm Josh Warrington, I'm telling him, listen, keep throwing that left hook, keep throwing that left hook. Wait, he's going to pull back from shot, get the left hook ready, get the left hook ready, get the left hook ready. But I don't know if Warrington's got the power to even drop with Selby. By the way, Wilder versus Joshua, who do you think wins, honestly? Wilder? I think I said at the top of the show. Wilder beats Joshua at the moment. At the moment, I think Wilder goes into the fight a favorite in America. If it is at the T-Mobile Arena, he starts the favorite. I think he should have taken a fight. If I'm managing Joshua, he takes a fight in America before he fights Wilder. Why? Because it's the unknown to Anthony Joshua. As a pro, he's done everything in the UK. You don't know how he fights abroad. You don't know what he does. You know, and he's in an American crowd being booed. He's so used to being the hero in the UK. He comes to America now. Not many people know him. So all those things are factors. And the mental strength of Joshua. It's all right having being the bully at home, but going abroad or on the road, can you do it the same way? I'm not so sure. So Joshua should really have had a fight in America first and then fought Wilder. Personal opinion. Just like the personal opinion I had about Dillian Whyte. Should never have fought Anthony Joshua at that fight. He wasn't fit. He was injured. He had a shoulder injury. going into the fight against Joshua. And I said to boxing fans, this fight should not be happening now. He needs to rest, recover, get himself fit, and then fight Joshua. Oh no, boxing fans knew better. Dillian Whyte gets beat, and now Dillian Whyte's coming to rebuild his career. Not those boxing fans are rebuilding his career for him, just Dillian Whyte. Do you think O'Hara should enter WBS at 140 tournament? I worry for him if he does. Boxing fundamentals, isn't it? It's all right saying to everybody you'll fight anybody, and that's fine. But in this society, having a record with 5 and 6 and 8 defeats isn't cool in this society, in this generation of boxing fans who don't really understand the sport. 5 and 8 defeats, you know, it don't bode good. You don't sell the same way. I think that in this society, in this generation, you have to pick your opponents carefully and pick your fights carefully, because the appreciation of a great fighter, regardless of how many fights he's lost, is just not there anymore. People are too quick to use the word bums. Commentators are too quick to promote unbeaten fighters and unbeaten records. Records are for DJs, not for boxers. Do you think Canelo's finished after eating the good Mexican steak? I think he's protected. Truth be said, I think Canelo's well protected, because if that was me or you, or let's say Liam Cameron got caught that way, or maybe, I don't know, let me think, Derek Chisora got caught like that, or Dillian Whyte got caught like that, these guys would have been crazy to be finished. Just look at Rehan Vissa, James Elibashir's fighter, the South African who just won the South African title, heavyweight title. He got caught with something, and their South African board are looking to possibly ban him if he's caught. 2 years minimum. So we all thought Hugh was too good for British Euro level. He should have taken this route before the world title. And then again, Dillian had the British title back then, and now Joe Joyce lurking. Okay. Being the harder puncher means nothing when the other guy is a monster puncher also. You want a missile to your face or a rocket launcher, both putting you away. Well, one guy's more accurate than the other. I've seen Joshua miss with so many punches of recent fights. Wilder has a 95% KO ratio, and I think that Luis Ortiz has got better boxing skills than Anthony Joshua, personally speaking. William Hill already have Joshua Wilder betting markets up. Joshua 4-9 favorite. William Hill, okay, thank you very much for that. William Hill, Box Talk. Wilder is 4-1 a while ago. Floyd was an offensive machine at the low weights. He would stop Lomo. That's great to know. Can Whyte beat Joshua now? I honestly can't answer that. I don't know. I don't know. Do you think Joshua's improved? Do you think Joshua's improved since they last fought? Possibly. Yeah, Wilder should be 4-1 LOL. Was Tony Parker just a paper champion? Who's Tony Parker? I don't know who Tony Parker is, sorry. They call him Windmill for a reason. Joshua's a very accurate puncher. Yeah, because he showed that against Takam, didn't he? And he showed that accuracy against Parker as well. Don't know. People like to make things up as they go along. But there you go. I think Joshua's a good fighter. But this is where I talk about the overrated stuff. This is where the overrated stuff comes in. Go back and look at the fight, punch stats, turn the volume down, watch the fight again. How many punches was he connecting with Takam? Even a combination that supposedly stopped Takam. I think some of those punches were missing Takam. So, each to their own. Everyone sees what they want to see. Especially when we're watching favourites, we have our own opinion of what a person can do and can't do. Are you nuts? Dillian White beats AJ. No, I didn't say he did. Dillian White had one good opponent and came an inch with losing to an old man Ortiz. Old man Ortiz after a long layoff. No, Deontay Wilder beats AJ. Oh, no wonder your likes same as dislikes. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. Do you know what? I'll give you something to dislike me more for. Why people have to come on the channel and be personal? Listen, I was having a good night. I'm still going to have a good night. Just going to have a good night without listening to you waffle on. Wilder, is that the Beeb in the room? Did I just see the Beeb in the room? Did I just see the Beeb in the room? No. Did I? The Beeb. Yes, the Beeb. How you doing, man? What is going on? We were meant to do a crossover so long ago, bro, and you let me down. What is going on, Beeb? Man, we should do a show together, at least one show together, one crossover show. Try to catch you on Skype, no reply. I think I've tried to get you hang out, no reply. Bro, it's good to see you over here, though. I hope you're well. But Wilder lands one and misses the next one. He is sloppy as AJ. Okay, listen, I think they're both high-class fighters, but for different reasons. I think Deontay Wilder. Listen, you have to look at a fighter for what he is. Okay, remember when you used to play Street Fighter, or you used to play Double Dragon, or you played any, or even if you go and play like Injustice, right? There's some things a guy can do, some things a guy can't do, right? For example, Batman can't fly; he hasn't got heat vision. Okay, now Superman can fly, but he hasn't got batarangs, and he hasn't got all these amazing tools on him. All right, so it's taking people for what they are, right? Deontay Wilder is a puncher, a raw, out and out puncher, right? And for people to say he can't box, well, he boxed the guy in Ortiz that Joshua didn't want to face. Tyson Fury openly came out and said, well, I've got no business fighting Ortiz. So for me, and I know that if Deontay Wilder was put anywhere in the world in those Olympics, that he came and was a bronze bomber, he would still be the bronze bomber. But if Joshua were to fight in America in those Olympics, he wouldn't be Olympic gold medalist. So what would you be telling me now? He'd have got beat in the first round. What would you be telling me today? I just think sometimes people let their fan beliefs cloud judgment. You know, Wilder's had a great win against Ortiz. I don't care what anybody tells, because nobody wanted to face Ortiz. And then when the fight was big, oh, why should fight Ortiz? Why should fight Ortiz? Why? Why should he fight Ortiz? He's an old man. Why? That was me saying that. Wilder's going to knock Ortiz out. Why do you want to see this fight? Oh, you should fight Ortiz. Ortiz is the best fighter out there. So he fights Ortiz. He destroys Ortiz. Then you don't want to give him credit for it. What's the point? It's no point having a conversation with you, because if Wilder now goes and destroys Joshua, then you're going to sit there and say, oh, well, Joshua was chinny and he was a robot and he blah, blah, blah. If he beats Tyson Fury, you're going to tell me, oh, well, Tyson Fury, well, he didn't have a good chin anyway. He got dropped by Steve Cunningham. So it's not you guys. There's no point in having a boxing conversation, because your goalposts don't stay the same. They just change after every fight. So if you fight Godzilla and you fight King Kong and you flipping go and take on an alien from outer space and you beat all of them, right? It's, well, you beat them, but there's always a but. Too damn skeptical. Enjoy a fighter for what they are. Joshua Wilder's the puncher. Joshua, you know, he's big and he's strong, and I'd say he's a lot more methodical, more of a thinking fighter. Do you know, makes a great fight. Just enjoy it for what it is. Because when Wilder's long gone and retired, people remember, damn, that guy could punch. That guy could punch. Good evening, Rob Plant. Hope you're well. Get the Beeb on, Ingram. Yes, I'd love to get the Beeb on. Who? Beating the Beeb. Yes. Hey, man. We will do show. We'll do a hangout. Well, better. Been a long time, Beeb. I'm a fan of your work. You can be a fan by jumping in now. Let's get it. Let's do it now, bro. Let's get it on now, bro. Let's do it now. I'll send you the link and we can do it now. Let's have a chat now about it. Give us your thoughts on the whole thing. Joshua has pedigree in the World Championship. Well, if the same World Championships you're going to give Joshua pedigree for, then please give Hughie Fury the same credit for winning the World Championships as well. World Youth Championships. Give Hughie Fury the credit for that as well. Yeah? If you're going to give one man credit for one thing, please give another man a credit for it as well. All right? So, if it's good enough for Joshua, it's good enough for Hughie Fury. Just saying. AJ got dropped in the World Championships and got up and fought his heart out. As a novice, he has enough mental strength. He got up and he fought on. Is that mental strength? Is it? Yeah, B, where are you, man? Send me how I can add you. How I can add you, Beeb. Let's get you in here, man. Let's see how I can add you. How am I going to add you, Beeb? You got an email address I can add you to or something? Or I can see. I'll tell you why. If you're on Twitter, I'll send you the invite for your Twitter, Beeb. It'd be great to have you in the room, man. How can we not have you in the room? You send me either your Twitter page. Let me see if you're on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, I'm sure I'm following you on Twitter. Sure, I'm following you on Twitter. In fact, I'm sure I'm following you on Twitter. Hold on. I got a message, direct message, yeah. Let me see if I can find you on Twitter, Beeb. Sure, you're on Twitter. Maybe you're not on Twitter. I don't know. Where's it? Angelica, hello, Angelica. Hope you're well. So trying to find Beeb. Okay, beating the odds with Beeb. Okay, see if I can find that on Twitter. I'm sure I've got. No. Yep, only 2016. Joe. I think I've got you here, Joe, but I don't know if. Let me see. Oh, it's there. You're there, Joe. Hold on. I think I found you, Joe. If it's your same Twitter page, then yeah, I think this might be you. Think I might have found you, Joe. So what? I am following you. Do you know when I? Do you know? Do you know when I was trying to get on? I'll tell you when I first reached out to you to get on the channel. It was the 28th of January 2016. And he said, maybe this Saturday we'll get it done. 28th, 2016. And that was the last time I heard from you, Beebs. But still got much love for you, bro. If you can get on now, I've just sent you the link. Yeah, the man, the man. Joe, what's going on, bro?
I'm in a supermarket right now shopping. I was watching you on my phone, but I'm glad. I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Hey, you know, I was watching a show earlier this morning, and this guy was trying to tell me that the fight would be bigger monetarily in the UK, and I was telling him, you can't be serious.
No.
The ticket prices, how expensive they are in Vegas, and how much we charge for pay-per-views over here. Imagine getting a pay-per-view from here and then being able to show the fight in Sky. You'd be getting two sources of revenue. I mean, it would be incredible. You'd have the U.S. pay-per-view and the U.K. pay-per-view instead of having Showtime. Instead of having Showtime just pay a rights fee to broadcast a fight. This way, you'd have a pay-per-view and the Sky pay-per-view and the Vegas. People were paying $20,000 for ringside seats for Mayweather Pacquiao. They were paying $5,000 for Canelo Golovkin. What do you think they would pay for this fight ringside in the T-Mobile Arena? It would be insane. You know? What do you think?
To be fair, a lot of the people that probably talk to you about boxing, to be honest, they're probably just guys who just rolled out of bed and started talking boxing. And probably, if you ask them who George Foreman was, or ask them who Simon Brown was, or ask them who Maurice Blocker was, if you asked them who those guys were, they wouldn't have a clue because they just
Simon Brown, yeah.
Their boxing knowledge and their history is so limited, and that's the kind of people that generally decide to have these conversations and talk about. They forget about Tyson versus Holyfield, that huge fight that was in America, you know.
And it's no disrespect to UK boxing, because I love UK boxing, but it's just simple math. If you look at all of the biggest fights in history, they've all been in the United States, and that's for a reason.
Well, when Chris fought Holyfield to become undisputed champion, he had to go to America. He couldn't bring Holyfield to England. He couldn't do that. Wasn't going to happen.
No, there's no way. It's no way. And even Eddie Hearn knows that the fight is more profitable here. He knows it's more money over here. He knows it. He's not an idiot.
Of course, it makes more money.
But this fight. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was going to say this fight is probably, in my opinion, for me personally, more heavily anticipated than Mayweather Pacquiao, because both of these guys are in their primes, and this is the heavyweights now, and this is for all the marbles. This is for a unification fight in the greatest division in the sport of boxing. I mean, this thing could take off. I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh well, Wilder's never fought on pay-per-view before. Joshua's never fought in the United States." But just the magnitude of this event, I think if it's promoted properly, this could definitely overachieve expectations. I think at the very least it does 500,000 pay-per-view buys over in the States, and it definitely will do probably 1.5 in the UK, I'm thinking.
Oh, it's going to it'll make a lot of money. But for me, I think if I'm Joshua's people, I don't take the fight now. I take the fight early next year. Only reason being is that Joshua hasn't fought in America. He needs to fight at least one fight in America to understand what it's like to fight in America, the American crowds, the time zones, understand all those things. So then when he fights a Wilder, there's no advantage like that. Because for me, Joshua's been fighting at home in his own comfort zone. Now he comes to America, he's going to have to deal with the referees that might not give him the same sort of comfort that he's had when he's been in the UK. And, you know, there are a lot of things he won't have that he usually has in the UK.
Yeah, it'll definitely be an adjustment. But my only problem with that is I don't think Povetkin is a cupcake at all. I think Povetkin is a tough out for anybody.
Absolutely.
And he has the potential to upset anyone. And I would just be nervous that, you know, Povetkin, his style being short and stocky, and Joshua not really, you know, liking that type of style. We saw how he fought Takam. We saw how he fought other shorter guys. They're problematic for him. And because Povetkin is such a great inside fighter and stuff, I you know, I think it would be a tough fight. And he could lose that fight, then the payday goes out the window.
You try telling that to most boxing you've just broke it down there perfectly, Joe. But if you try telling that to your average boxing casual fan, they'll tell you, "Oh, Joshua's big and he's strong, and he'll knock Povetkin out a couple of rounds." But he's not ever shown he's got that sort of punching power anyway, and he looked terrible against Takam.
Yeah, and the thing is too, is you still have the you know, the questions about stamina as well. And I mean, I would still favor Joshua in the fight, but I think against Wilder, I think it's a tough fight. But I think style-wise, it could even be a tougher fight with Povetkin or Luis Ortiz. You know what I'm saying? And so if you're going to take a risk, you might as well take a risk with Wilder and get your maximum reward for it. You know,
exactly. That's what I think.
Yeah.
But what about Jarrell Miller? What about Jarrell Miller? What about a fight in Brooklyn to fight Jarrell Miller and then fight Wilder? Is that too much of a risk as well?
Well,
you're breaking up, Joe. You're breaking up, Joe. You still with us? Joe. BWTM to Mars. Mars, come in. Can you hear us, Joe? See? The beauty of shopping in Walmart. We'll just wait for Joe to reconnect with us. Joe, we can't hear you, mate. Are you in Walmart, son? Joe, you there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can just about hear you. Are you in Walmart?
No, I'm just Stop and Shop.
Well, they don't like it. There's something about that connect. Not cool out there. I can hardly hear you. You sound like you're on another planet. In fact, I can't hear anything now. So we'll wait for Joe to join us again. But it's great to have Joe in the room. That's absolutely fantastic to have the Habeeb in the room, because I've known the Habeeb for absolute donkey's years. I think he's been doing this longer than me. So it's great when you get a legend like the Habeeb to come on and talk boxing. I'll tell you what, Warren, better make sure Fury's next fight is sold out for once. Disgraceful still that the opponent for Tyson's comeback for the 9th hasn't been announced. I agree with you there. Ingram Beeb, you have to factor in the UK pay-per-view loss for the people who don't want to stay up till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about them. They will get up at 4 or 5 in the morning. Don't you worry about that. You got up in the morning for Mayweather Pacquiao, didn't you? If they put the fight on in Vegas, they are kind of saying they can take a loss, but it's for more money. Everybody knows he's going to be fighting a bum, but they can at least tell us who the bum is. Oh, God. It's no secret Tyson's comeback will be against a journeyman. He won't step up for at least 4 to 5 fights. I said that. So we might not see Tyson in the ring against a real world-class fighter till mid-2019 at the earliest. What the F are you guys talking? Povetkin is easiest job. Casual alert. CPR for Joe. I can see Tyson versus White as his 3rd or 4th fight. Really? Well, White's a Eddie Hearn fighter. Tyson's a Frank Warren fighter. Don't see that happening. I don't know this, not boxing related, but I seen what looked like a star in the sky, but now is goner. I don't know about that. Joshua didn't look terrible against Takam. Nonsense comment, bro. Well, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Just like you think that Joshua's an accurate puncher, I don't think he looked great against Takam. I think he missed with a lot of Takam made him miss with a lot of punches, and you just got to think to yourself, if that was a Povetkin in there who actually can punch, and an Olympic gold medalist, you know, their styles are so different, like in terms of getting in. Povetkin knows what he's doing. So, and what I'm talking about, where he looked terrible, in the perspective of, when I say he looked terrible, in terms of the fan base, and when I broke that fight down, I said that Takam, there was no way Joshua was blowing Takam out of there. And people sat here and told me Takam's going to get blown out in a couple of rounds. But Joshua said, it's not happening. It's not happening. And did it happen? It didn't happen. So that's what I mean by being terrible, because according to you guys, you out there that said he'd get blown away in 2 rounds. And remember, when you guys make your comments here on YouTube and it goes all wrong and it don't go the way you say it was going to go, but you come back next week and tell me someone else is going to get blown away, it's okay. I don't dig you out. But if I say something on camera, then you're ready to dig me out. And this is where it's a bit, it's not fair, is it? Let's see now. Ingram, good logic, but the US fans will accuse AJ of ducking if he doesn't fight Wilder this year. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. But, you know, what can I say? But, like, I really do think Joshua should have fought in America, because he's going to need every advantage necessary he's going to need. And he does not go into this fight against Wilder with the advantages. He goes into the Wilder fight with disadvantages. Wilder's fought in the US. He's fought away from Alabama. He's fought, you know, around them. He's done a bit of traveling. Much, but he's done some traveling, you know, and he's defended a title on the road. Joshua hasn't done that yet. Joshua's fought in front of crowds of people. You could say, well, he's defended it in Cardiff. Fine, fair enough. But he's always been kind of the favorite, always a favorite. You know, not everybody in America likes Deontay Wilder. Joshua's very much the poster boy, you know. When he comes to America, he's not going to be seen the same way as the poster boy. There's going to be a lot of, who on earth are you? That's what people are going to be asking. Who are you? Who are you? As opposed to being in London and being in England and they saying, yeah, we know who he is. Who are you? You know, we thought the Prince Naseem Hammond was a big star in the UK. He went to America. It's like, who's this guy? He's got to prove himself to us. If you can't listen to HBO, they wanted to know who he was. When he was on his ass in the first round, I was like, okay, fair enough. That's what we expect of the British fighter, the horizontal heavyweight. They used to call them in America, because back in the day, British heavyweights were known to get put to sleep. That's what they were known for, horizontal heavyweights. You know, that is what the British heavyweight scene was about. Fighters going to America and getting put to sleep horizontally. That's what it was all about. So, you know, how many rounds he lose against? It's not about how many rounds he lost against Takam. It's against guys like yourself who said that he'd get blown out in 2 rounds. That's what I'm talking about. I'm going by your expectations, not my expectations. I'm going by your expectations. Your expectation that says Joshua's going to blow somebody out in 2 rounds. Oh, he'll blow him out in 2 rounds. No, he's not going to blow him out in 2 rounds. But based on your expectation, he looked terrible. Because remember, he was meant to blow him out in 2 rounds. Takam's not going to last a round. That was crap because he's not that kind of a puncher. So, like, oh, Parker's going to blow him out, going to get blown out. Parker's going to get blown out in 2 rounds. Well, that didn't happen. It's because as you move up in levels in boxing, as you move up in levels, guys now have to slip punches. Guys have got better durability. Guys are throwing punches back. So it's not as easy to get your shots off. You're now worried about the shots that are coming back. Different proposition. So all this time, oh, we blow him out in a couple of rounds. Just like with Golovkin and Jacobs. Oh, they're going to knock Jacobs out in a couple of rounds. Not happening. Oh, we'll knock Canelo out in a couple. Not going to happen. You're moving up in levels. And people are throwing punches back. The different proposition. You start moving up in levels. So, you know, that's why Deontay Wilder moved up in levels. Say what you want about, well, you know, he didn't look great. I said Wilder would knock Ortiz out. And it happened. Difficult because Ortiz ain't an easy man to knock out. And it was the first time he'd been knocked out, you know, as a pro. So congratulations to Deontay Wilder. He's been disappointed in the last 2 fights. I think the Klitschko fight made him realize he's not invincible, says Blood 5. Dogs, Pacquiao versus Floyd 2. No, absolutely no. I said he would go along with AJ. AJ himself said it would take 10 rounds. Messed up thing is, if Deontay wins, he will unify the division in 1 fight. It's not messed up about that. Not really messed up. He's the WBC champion. He's been a long reigning WBC champion. As a matter of fact, Lennox Lewis was the WBC champion when he went to fight Evander Holyfield. Remember that? He was WBC champion and he went across. I think that wasn't a belt he got out of the bin. That was the vacant belt he won off of Oliver McCall. Or was it vacant? No, it wasn't vacant. Oliver McCall was the champion. He beat McCall for the championship. No, it might have been for the vacant championship. Was it? I can't remember. But anyway, he beat Oliver McCall for the championship. So he was WBC champion when he went on to fight Holyfield, who had all the other belts. I do think that Deontay beats AJ, unfortunately. Never said he would blow him out. I expected a tough fight, as I stated above. They will be shouting, "Who are you?" knowing full well who AJ is. All that just to get AJ off his comfort zone. Wilder fans can be very patriotic. Oh, so what's the news? The news is if you wait until the end, pause it, play it back, then you'll hear what the news is. Should Chris Eubank Jr. retire? No, because he's got the Callum Smith fight. And if he can shift Callum Smith out of there, look, I don't think Callum Smith fights good under pressure. I really don't think. Callum Smith is very good when he's on the front foot, using a jab and finding nice body shots, hooks to the body. Callum Smith is good like that. But when you actually put Smith's back against the ropes and you start getting on top of Callum Smith, he's not a very good fighter. He's not a very good fighter backing up with his back against the ropes. You put Smith with his back against the ropes, that nullifies his power, and you can really go to town on Smith. The thing is Eubank A, physically strong enough to push Smith back against the ropes? B, is he consistent enough? Has he got the work rate for that? And C, is he, because Smith looks like a light heavy cruiser. I mean, he's a big guy at super middle. And I wonder, and the other thing about Smith is he's struggling at super middle. He looked like he's been struggling at the weight for a couple of fights now. So interesting. Smith might be too big for Eubank Jr. That's my point there, Martz. That's exactly my point. As the Beeb left us, I hope the Beeb hasn't left us. Looks like the Beeb's left us. The Beeb's left us, which is a shame. I hope maybe he can probably connect back later. But yeah, I think, yeah, I do think Smith might be too big for Eubank, but Smith's gonna have to box like a big man. What I mean by box like a big man is take the center of the ring and keep the jab in Eubank's face. If he does that, use like long levers he's got, and use the jab on Eubank, hit him with nice hard. The body shots I'd like to see Smith land on Eubank, because he might have a good chin. They always say if a guy's got a good chin, go to the body. And Smith is probably the best body puncher that Eubank would have faced. I think he's a better body puncher than Groves. If this fight happens in the 20,000 seater in Vegas, I suspect Hearn will demand 10,000 tickets for UK fans. We all know UK fans love to travel. He's into wide to travel. We could have another Saddam Ali moment. Yeah, we could. Yeah, we could. We could. Smith is huge for the weight. Eubank's a middleweight and moved up to super middleweight, and he wasn't even one of the biggest super middleweights. So God only knows how Smith and Eubank's going to look. And it's all well and good fighting big guys. I've seen Eubank smashing big guys up in gym and sparring, but they're not. I wouldn't call them world beaters. Those guys he's beating up in the gym. No disrespect to them. They probably beat the crap out of me, but they don't look like world beaters to me. And I don't know. I'm not so sure of how Eubank's going to go about taking Callum Smith on. Smith could just keep him on the jab and just keep whacking him with hard body shots and uppercuts, but We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. Is that Eubank Smith fight official? Well, Scroves had 10 days to get himself together and be healed. 10 days. If he doesn't, Eubank takes over and replaces Groves. And that was 10 days. It was about 3 or 4 days ago. So why can't they fight on a neutral ground? Japan is quite nice this time of the year. I suspect, it's a suspicion, that the stadiums were booked before they thought about Japan. Yeah, so I think the stadium was booked. I think it was booked in advance. So why not throw De Gea with Smith? That don't make no sense. Why would you throw De Gea with Smith? De Gea was never part of the tournament in the first place. He was injured, wasn't he? So why not? Why is people sleeping on Jurgen Bremer? He was part of the tournament. He pulled out because he had some cold. Why not have Jurgen Bremer in the tournament? What's wrong with having Jurgen Bremer? He was meant to fight Smith originally. Why doesn't he fight Smith in the final? He's more legitimate than Chris Eubank Jr., who got beat as a semi-finalist. I don't get that. But he's a big draw. He lost. Eubank Jr. might be a better body puncher in inaccuracy compared to Groves, but he lacks power and smothers his own work. Never helps. Eubank is British level. I know, but he's the champ at least. He's a champ at least. Who? Eubank is a champion. Or Smith. Oh, De Gea. Yeah, he's a champion. But look how he looked against Truax. I mean, that really wasn't I want to call that. Would you call that a world-class performance? I don't know how De Gea does against Callum Smith. I mean, you saw how Badu Jack, a guy bigger than De Gea, really took out of De Gea, and Smith is bigger than Jack, I would say. So I don't know. I just don't agree with Eubank being in it after losing. I don't either. That's one thing we do agree on. I don't agree on it. That's not right. If you lose, you lose. If you lose, you lose. That's it. End of conversation. It's what? It's a competition. It's elimination. It's a knockout tournament. That's like England getting knocked out of the quarterfinals of the World Cup. And then somebody saying, oh, well, you know what? The team in the final, well, they've all got food poisoning. So let's bring England in and play them in the final. Why? Oh, because they've got a nation that likes the football. Oh, it's the home of football. Yeah, people come up with some excuses. Eubank Jr. should be in the final. Why? Well, because he's entertaining. But he's a loser. Eubank Jr. should be in the final. Why? Because he sells tickets. That's not the point. You lost in the semi-final. So you lost. That's it. You were a ticket seller in the semi-final, but you weren't good enough to progress to the final. That's it. End of conversation. Jurgen Bremer pulled out because he had an illness, a cold. So he could come and fight in the final now. And if he got beat, at least he'd get beat by the guy who got to the final and fought in the final. Makes sense to me. I was salty about Eubank replacing Groves, but then I understood it's tournament rules. Well, no, Bremer should be replacing him. That's tournament rules being bent. I feel Buatsi can do a job on Yard Day as a more complete fighter. The fight will get a lot of interest. Won't happen. Will not happen. There's no way Buatsi and Yard will fight, and Buatsi knows that too. There's no way those two are going to fight. Not anytime now, anyway. And I'll tell you why. Because, oh, here we go. I'm hearing from brother Habeeb here. He's saying, oh, I just saw his message. He basically said he's getting a weak signal. Let's see. Hold on. Let me get this comment. So it won't happen because Watts has got far more experience as an amateur, and in the pro game he looks very dangerous. Yard didn't have much amateur experience, and Tunde Ajayi is taking their time slowly with Frank Warren to build Yard into being a better fighter. They know the limits of yard. There's no way that Buatsi fight's happening. The Callum Johnson fight wasn't happening. So there's absolutely no way that Buatsi's fight's happening. Forget it. So that's why Buatsi can talk how he's talking. I actually believe Buatsi would take the fight. And I would take Buatsi to be strong favourite in the fight because of their amateur experience. And how many times have you seen amateur fighters with great pedigree or very good pedigree fighting in the pros against guys who've had very poor amateur backgrounds? And when they come to fight in big fights, the guy who's had the Olympic experience or the World Championships or the Commonwealth Championships has fought a bit of time in the amateurs, comes good in the big fights. So if I were Yard, I wouldn't walk, I would run. I would get a plane and leave the country. Do not fight Buatsi, not at this point in time. Keep his sponsorships, keep it going with you and Tunde, keep it sweet, you know what I mean, and keep getting them sponsorships in, keep smiling, keep laughing, keep throwing all them combinations on the pads and all the rest of it. Keep training, keep improving, keep getting fights, keep learning. Do that. Keep away from Buatsi. Eubank Jr. can't compete at 168 in the current era of weight bullies. No, he needs to get his ass back to 160. It's unfair for Groves, but fair according to rules. It's unfair and on Groves and unfair with the rules because basically, where's Jürgen Bremer? If you're going to go by the rules, Jürgen Bremer should be in. Smith will get a world title shot at. Well, got a shot at title, LOL. 0 belts, sit proudly around the waist of one man. That's funny. That's very funny. Do you think Eubank Sr. is to blame for Junior's overbelief about his talent? Well, he's promoted Eubank. And I don't think how many people, but you can blame his dad or you can praise his dad because you blame him because of what's going wrong with Eubank Jr. But Eubank Jr. is his own worst enemy because if he really has been saying he doesn't need a trainer and he really has not had a trainer, he's his own worst enemy because his dad's a great promoter. You know, his dad is the event. You know, his dad. Take his dad away, nobody would really care about Eubank Jr. To be honest, let's be honest. So you can't knock the dad because the dad is what a lot of people turn out to see, to listen to what the dad's got to say. Right, Angel Garcia and Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia can fight a bit, yeah, but Angel Garcia is what makes it happen. The winner of the tournament will most probably end up fitting DeGale anyhow. So I just figured it would be best to throw him in. Fighting. Yeah. Well, maybe not. DeGale has to get for Ustaki, and I don't see him beating Ustaki. So Ustaki knocked out my good friend Julius Jackson. Big things will happen to Julius Jackson until he crossed Ustaki. And of course, you saw what happened with Durrell and Ustaki. So I don't see DeGale beating Ustaki somehow. I really don't. I think he's a tremendous fighter. No, don't even think about it. The Grove situation will be the undoing of the World Boxing Super Series. It will be rare for any fighter to have such hard consecutive fights, not pick up injuries and then out for months. Yeah, it is. But I think it's because the World Super Series, the way they set it up is I think they've got the tournament, they've got the stadiums in place early. So they've booked the stadiums and said, look, we're not changing these venues, or we can't change the venues. We've got the seats, we've got their date, we've booked it there. That's where it is, and we're not changing it for anyone. So that's how it seems to me. For those of you watching, I just thought I'd add this. For those of you watching and known me for on the BWTM gaming channel, for some absolutely bizarre, unknown reason to myself, the channel has been suspended. I don't know why it's been suspended. No, it didn't make that much of a difference. I know a lot you're going to say I put a lot of time in. I did put a lot of time in, but it's not my platform. So when people, YouTube can do what they want when they want. That's why I'm going to be very happy when it's only a matter of days when we move from the platform that we are at the moment onto our own platform, so we don't have to ask YouTube for anything. So just got to bite our tongue, and it just reconfirms to me the thoughts I've always had about YouTube. But I guess they did what they did, and I don't know why it is, because I know I violated no rules. I don't know what they're doing. So they've just suspended the channel. I've appealed it at the moment, but if anybody wants to see what's going on in the future, all they have to do is go to my YouTube channel. Am I hearing somebody in the background there? Is that Beeb? Are you there, Beeb?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm in the car now, so hopefully the internet's crazy. And yeah. Can you hear me?
Get the volume up. Let's get you back in the room. Okay, can you turn your volume up for me, Beeb?
Let me see if I can do that for you. Turn it up all the way. Yeah, I got it up all the way. Can you hear me?
Just about. You're a bit distant. Let me try my end up this way. This was what it is. Now go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, perfect. Can hear you perfectly, bro.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
So you were saying, I don't know if you were hearing what you were catching what was being said earlier.
What was said when I was gone? Briefly.
Joshua. Oh yeah, I was talking about how people were. I said that Joshua looked terrible in his last fight, and somebody said it was a silly comment to make, and I was putting it in the perspective of what some of these fans were saying. Some of these fans were saying that Joshua was going to blow away Takam in 2 rounds. I said, with that perspective, he looked terrible, because compared to what the fans were saying about what Joshua would do, Joshua was going to knock out Takam in a couple of rounds, and he's going to knock out Parker. And now we mentioned Povetkin. The same people are jumping up and saying, easy work. Joshua will knock out Povetkin in a couple of rounds. Well, if he couldn't knock out Takam and he couldn't knock out Parker, I don't think he knocks out Povetkin.
No, I mean, I think the Povetkin fight's a tough fight. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think Luis Ortiz is definitely the most skilled boxer in the heavyweight division. I think he's got the most well-rounded ability. I think he's slick, he's tricky, he's a good counterpuncher, and he can punch as well. And I think you could arguably make him number 3. I think Luis Ortiz would beat Joseph Parker. A lot of people disagree with me, but I would favor Luis Ortiz over Joseph Parker, and I would favor him over Alexander Povetkin. And I think Luis Ortiz could beat Dillian White. But that's just my opinion. I think in terms of skills, I think Luis Ortiz is a really, really solid fighter. And he almost beat Deontay Wilder.
I said this, but boxing fans say, oh, well, Deontay Wilder is sloppy. I'm like, hold on a second. Understand Deontay Wilder for what he is and what he's not. Deontay Wilder is not what we call a technical boxer. He's a puncher. And that's what you have to understand. He's a puncher. That's what he is.
He's a puncher.
That's it.
I agree. I agree.
But, babe, explain this to me a second. I can't wrap my head around this. They want a punch. They want a guy who's going to give them knockouts. So you've got Deontay Wilder. But they say Wilder is windmilling. Okay, so you put Wilder to one side. They say they want a guy who's got boxing ability and technical skill. We give you Tyson Fury. But then you tell me, yeah, Tyson Fury, well, he's a bit uncoordinated, and there's something else wrong with Tyson Fury. Oh, he doesn't punch hard enough. And he doesn't get enough knockouts. So put Tyson Fury out of the way. Put your Anthony Joshua. Oh, Joshua is a robot. I give you Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz is, he's old. Yeah, he's old. So who's he for? So put Luis Ortiz out of the way. So when you look at it and you look at the division, if you listen to these people, no matter who they beat, if Joshua beats or Wilder beats Joshua and Fury, he still won't get credit for it because I still say he's wild.
Well, this is the thing. You mentioned it earlier. If you're a fan of a certain fighter, then you're obviously going to focus on his strengths and you're not going to really think about his weaknesses. If you're not a fan of a certain fighter, you're going to do just the opposite. You're going to sit there and poke at his weaknesses, but you're not going to talk about his strengths. The beauty about this division is you have so many different styles and different types of fighters. And when you mix and match them up, you have a lot of intriguing fights. And the reason why this Wilder Joshua fight is so intriguing is because of their weaknesses. It'll make the fight entertaining. So you're going to sit there and look at two guys who can punch really, really hard. But, you know, Joshua may be the guy who throws the shorter, crisper, sharper combinations, but Wilder is more the guy that throws the haymakers, the one punch at a time. And you get to see, you know, whose style is going to prevail over the other. And because these two guys are, you know, such big punches, it's just so interesting. And the thing also, too, is you're not going to have a guy like Wilder lay back like Takam did and lay back like Parker did. He's going to make Joshua fight. He's going to be aggressive. He's going to go right at him. So, you know, I think Joshua's going to have no choice but to have to fight just to keep Wilder off him, because Wilder is just much more aggressive than anyone that Joshua's faced in the past. And that's why the fight is so intriguing, and it has the makings to be an outstanding, entertaining fight for the ages, really, in my opinion.
I look at the right hand that Klitschko hit Joshua with in that 5th round, and Klitschko didn't follow up. If Wilder hits him with that right hand, you can say good night.
And the reason why I think Wilder presents problems for Joshua is Wilder, if you watch him when he moves, he can just stop, set his feet, and just throw a long, straight right hand from a distance and still generate power. If you watch Joshua, he steps in with every shot. He likes to get in that mid-range. He can fight on the outside a bit, but he likes to step forward and really step into his shots. And by doing that, he can walk into that right hand. Whereas Wilder, as awkward as he is, and sometimes he appears to be off balance, but there are those times where he just stops, plants his feet, and he'll just throw a straight, perfect right hand right down the pike. And he generates power off that, where he doesn't have to really step in and lean in and move forward with it. He can just plant his feet and just shoot the punch and generate power. And that's the difference. I think, you know, we've seen Joshua get hit with straight punches right up the middle. And Wilder definitely could hit him with that right hand.
Tell them.
That's why the fight is dangerous. I still favor Joshua, but not as much as I did before. Now, if I was to bet this fight, I would just bet the stoppage proposition. I would just bet this fight would end in a knockout. That's the safest bet, to be honest with you, because anything can happen in this fight.
The problem is with Joshua is when Joshua opens up, that's when he's most vulnerable. When he actually sets up his attacks, all the times he's been caught, tagged, hurt, have been all the times when he's decided to open up. When he got hurt by Klitschko, he was opening up. He was on the attack. When he got hurt by Dillian White, he was on the attack. And when he was going to try and finish somebody off, that's when Joshua is at most vulnerable. He opens up.
When guys punch with him, they can connect. Yeah.
There you go. And that's what Wilder's going to do. He's going to punch with him. It's a
dangerous fight. It's a dangerous fight. And you made an excellent point earlier. I think because this fight is such a tough fight for both guys, I think the home court advantage is definitely something that would be valuable to either guy. And I think that would put Joshua at a disadvantage fighting on the road. That is definitely something to look at here. And that's why I think Wilder's team wanted to do that.
Huge. It's huge. I don't think boxing fans really understand. Like I was telling about the history of heavyweight boxing, particularly British fighters in America, and how they called us the horizontal heavyweights, because you guys for a long time used to see us come over to America and fall asleep. That's why, you know, the horizontal heavyweight. So when Lennox Lewis came along, it was something different for the Americans. They didn't like it because their fighters were getting beat up.
Yes.
So a lot of the are understanding don't understand that kind of history of boxing. Look, the older generation do, but the younger ones don't understand about the horizontal heavyweights. And that being said, and with that history, Joshua should be going over to America and checking it out before he actually fights. He should be fighting at least once and then take on Wilder. Forget the fans for a second, because the fight's going to happen. So for the sake of his own chance of winning this fight, having more of a chance of winning the fight, he needs to take the fight first. And it didn't have to be a big fight in America, meaning like a dangerous opponent. And then they could have said, right, you know what? Have this fight against whoever in America, and then fight Wilder. You know what I mean? It didn't have to be anyone important, really big. Just fight somebody in America, not a dangerous opponent, right? Get a blow over, get Wilder to come in the ring with Joshua, and then that's, oh my God, that sells. That sells.
No, this adds a lot of pressure. Obviously, this is going to be the biggest fight for either men in their careers, and that is pressure in itself. But now having to get acclimated and having the biggest fight of your career on foreign soil, that's a big, big ask. And I know a lot of the UK fans will come over, and I'm sure they'll cheer, and the crowd will probably be even. But it's just a different atmosphere. Just knowing that you're out of your comfort zone, that could wear on him mentally. There's no doubt about that.
There's another thing as well. Boxing fans, British boxing fans in particular, I want you to think about the time when Ricky Hatton went and fought Floyd Mayweather.
Yes.
Ricky Hatton for years has been fighting a certain way and a certain style. Floyd knew this. So what happens? Joe Cortez, the referee. Every time Ricky tried to get close, Cortez broke it up. Every time Ricky got close, Cortez broke it up. Ricky got frustrated, walked onto the check left hook, and the rest is history. So, you know, these are things that Joshua needs to be aware of. When he comes to America, he'll have to deal with the referee. He'll have to deal with the judging. He'll have to there's so many things he has to deal with. And now he's now on Heyman territory as well. So it's a totally different proposition. Unless between now and the time they fight for the undisputed title, Eddie Hearn can pull a master trick and make Deontay Wilder one of his fighters.
I mean, it wouldn't be a bad move. I mean, Eddie Hearn definitely has connections. I think he's the hottest promoter in the sport right now. And if I was a fighter, I wouldn't be shy or I would be concerned about having to sign with Eddie Hearn. I think Eddie Hearn, we'll see what happens with that DAZN deal, but I think Eddie Hearn is smart enough to know that he'll sign just enough fighters where he won't be overwhelmed and won't be, having problems finding dates for them, and he'll sign the right fighters.
I will.
I think Eddie Hearn's an excellent promoter.
Yeah, well, I'll only say this much. Luis Ortiz, he had the premier heavyweight on the planet. What did he do with him? 3 fights.
Let him go.
Well, yeah.
Let him go, yeah.
What did he do with him? He took him and gave him Malik Scott, Dave Allen, and what was the other fight he had? It was Dave Allen and Malik Scott. Somebody else he fought as well. But he fought Dave Allen and Malik Scott. I mean, that's not really the great thing for a promoter, and I don't think in fact, he took all Luis Ortiz's stock from up and brought it right down. So, I mean,
he did a bad job with him. But people want to criticize Daniel Jacobs' ratings and what have you. But Daniel Jacobs' ratings on HBO are better than his ratings were on Showtime when he was exclusively with Al Heyman fighting on Showtime. So he's made a little bit of strides with Daniel Jacobs. I think the problem, I think he may not have known how to use Luis Ortiz properly, and Luis Ortiz had the problem with the other failed drug test, and Luis Ortiz doesn't speak English, so yeah, I mean he's a difficult guy to promote, to be honest with you. Eddie Hearn tried it and it didn't work out, but I think some of these other guys that Eddie Hearn could potentially sign, some of these Heyman fighters, I think he could do a good job with them. I mean, he still have his work cut out for him. Don't get me wrong, but I think the potential to do a great job is definitely there.
Babe, you need to listen to some of these comments that are in here, because I'm not going to comment. I'm not even going to respond. But I want to hear what you say and what your response will be. Somebody says here, Wilder doesn't have a chin like Parker, and nowhere near as good with his footwork as Takam and Parker either. He's very flat-footed.
Wilder showed a chin against Luis Ortiz. I thought he was going to get knocked out. and he hung in there. It looked like he was going to get stopped, and he hung in there. Listen, guys, I mean, this is a division where one punch can change the fight, and Mike Tyson was thought to have one of the greatest chins in the world, and Buster Douglas knocked him out. James Toney knocked out Evander Holyfield. I mean, this is a division where these guys are monsters. These guys are dangerous. So Joshua can get knocked out too. I mean, it looked like he was going to be gone against Klitschko, and he hung in there. So let's not get crazy here. I mean, either guy can knock the other out. If Wilder lands on Joshua clean and perfectly, I think he has more of the one-punch knockout power than Joshua does. So let's just get that straight. To sit there and say that Parker has a better chin than Wilder, well, Parker fought a very defensive fight. It wasn't like he was getting hit cleanly, in succession. He was fighting very smart, kept his distance, and his punch output was low, and he fought a very low-risk fight, with all due respect to him. So, it wasn't like he was getting in the trenches like Klitschko did. So it's a totally different style, Parker and Wilder.
Teach him, brother. So teach him, brother. Teach him.
So we don't really know. I mean, I'm not saying Parker is not a durable guy, but he's able to survive in fights because of his defensive prowess more so than his chin. Because a good defensive fighter doesn't have to show you he has a good chin. And but let's be honest, Parker did do well in that fight. I had the fight 8-4 for Joshua, but it very easily could have been a 7-5 fight for Joshua as well. The fight was competitive, and the fight was competitive because Parker fought very well defensively. He did very well in establishing his range, and he fought better on the outside than Joshua did. Joshua started having more success in the second half of the fight because he was pressing the action, and he was able to establish himself in the mid-range area of the pocket, and that's where he was doing most of his damage. And as I've said, Wilder can stand on one side of the ring and hit you from across the other end with a right hand because his arms are so long, and he's really dangerous with those straight punches up the middle.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a problem, and that could be a problem for Joshua.
The other problem for Joshua is he doesn't move his head.
Does not. He does not. And here's another thing too. Would you agree that Wilder's probably quicker on his feet than Joshua as well? Does he have quicker feet?
Yeah, of course he's got quicker. I don't understand why these people say that Wilder's a flat-footed. Wilder isn't flat-footed.
No, he's not flat-footed at all. It's not flat-footed at all. But again, he moves, but he plants himself. He can plant himself and just throw a straight. He doesn't have to step into his shots. He can. It's almost like basketball. And you got the guys that can stop and pop. They're jump shooters, and you got the guys that are set shooters. Wilder's like a set shooter with his punches.
There you go.
That's the way I look at it.
So he says here, Joshua has a very, very good guard, and Wilder's absolutely flat-footed. This is what this guy is saying.
Well, let me ask you this. What if someone is flat-footed? Like Marvin Hagler was flat-footed. Like not every fighter fights on their toes and fights like a Hector Camacho, or fights like an Andre Durrell, or fights like a Sugar Ray Leonard. And a lot of fighters don't. Roberto Duran was flat-footed. Why is that such a negative connotation in the sport of boxing?
Wait.
I mean, a lot of fighters.
Golovkin's flat-footed.
A lot. Footed as well. Like a lot of fighters, there's different styles, and certain fighters have mastered certain styles. If you're a swarmer type, if you're a plotter, you don't have to fight on your toes. I mean, you don't have to be a flashy fighter to be successful in this sport. Not everyone has to fight like Roy Jones to be a successful fighter in this sport. Bernard Hopkins was a flat-footed fighter too. He could move, but a lot of times he would sit in the pocket and he would just use a lot of shoulder, upper body, head and shoulder movement, dip in at the waist. He wasn't a guy that used his legs in an excessive amount in fights. I mean, why is that such a negative thing in the sport? Oh, he's flat-footed. What is that? So what? What's wrong with that?
There's more to come. There's more to come. Hold on. Let me give you a bit more. You can hold on. He says, Wilder's absolutely flat-footed. It's his biggest weakness. And then Aziz jumps in and says, Wilder's footwork is probably the worst in the game, to be honest.
Listen, Wilder does not do everything properly. We know this. But he doesn't have to do everything properly because he's effective with his unorthodox style. He doesn't have to be the quintessential technical boxer. Doesn't have to be. Jake LaMotta didn't have to be. Harry Greb didn't have to be. There was a lot of fighters that had very like Rocky Marciano. The guy had 2 left feet, but he could kill you with 1 punch. The sport is not, one type of style. It's a sport that encompasses a multiple amount of styles, different fighters. And that's what makes the sport so beautiful, so interesting to watch, because the most technically gifted guy doesn't always win.
Okay,
history has shown us that.
But you know what? What I don't understand, they're saying that Wilder's footwork is trash. His footwork's trash. He windmills, but this guy has got tremendous punching power. And for me, you've got to have some decent footwork when you're fighting someone like Louis Ortiz. He's got to do something right to be able to land, to get himself in position to land those right hands at the right time. So he must be doing something right to a guy who's superior, better than him.
When he has a guy hurt, that's when he starts looking his worst. That's when he starts, quote unquote, windmilling. But watch him when he sets up that right hand.
There you go.
Remember that Spilka fight where, he had maybe he was like 1.5 feet away from Spilka, and he was able to shorten up the right hand and throw it real crisp over the top. Yeah. And he was still able to knock that guy out and generate that power when it looked like he was practically smothered. And he was still able to adjust the trajectory of the punch and shorten it up enough to land that punch and get Spilka out of there. So, again, he's not pretty to watch always. But I will say offensively, he's a lot more skilled than people give him credit for. He knows how to set that power up. It's no accident that he's got all those knockouts.
Mm-hmm. And genuine knockouts. No referee helping him with
no.
He's not out. No referee needing to help out. This is the difference. And, speed, power, athleticism, natural athlete, better flexibility, I don't know.
Listen, the guy's a natural athlete. He played basketball, football. I think he ran track as well. He took up the sport of boxing late. I mean, if you were just to look at, if you were to line them up and do a 40-yard dash, I bet you Wilder would win. I bet you if you had a contest to see who could jump higher, I bet you Wilder would win. If they played a game of one-on-one basketball, Wilder would beat Joshua. If they played any type of other sport besides boxing, I think Wilder is more athletic than Joshua. Just Joshua is more refined in terms of skill.
Here's another thing of coming here. Somebody's coming in and said, no one is calling Wilder a bad fighter, but he just fought a lot of cab drivers. He just fought the best fighter in the world, and they still call him fighting cab drivers. I don't get it.
This is the thing. I use this example before. Okay, say you have a friend, and he was an alcoholic, and he's been drinking for 20 years, and then he comes up to you and says, "Hey, I've been clean for 6 months." What are you gonna say to that guy? Are you gonna say, "Oh, I'm happy you're clean, you're not drinking anymore," or you're gonna say, "Why didn't you stop 20 years ago?" You could sit there and pick apart Wilder's resume. You could sit there and say, "Why did he take so long?" Whatever, but focus on what he's doing now. He's made a conscious effort to fight the best guys now. What good does it do us to look back 3, 4, 5 years ago? Let's talk about what's going on now. With all due respect to Anthony Joshua, the division looked a lot different 5 years ago than it did now, or it did 2 years ago. So Klitschko was the dominant heavyweight that was undefeated for 10 years when Wilder first won the championship. He wasn't that same fighter. Not taking anything away from what Joshua did. Please don't misunderstand. But when you put Joshua in with Klitschko after coming off that loss to Fury and being off for 17 months, it's not the same Klitschko that Wilder would have faced when he first won his WBC heavyweight title. So let's just put that into perspective, guys. And you know, you could sit there and say whatever you want, but Klitschko is a great scalp to have under your belt, and so is Dillian White. But again, you know, other than that, Joshua's resume hasn't been the greatest either. That's why, you know, these guys have to fight now. I give Joshua credit for fighting Parker. That was another nice opponent. But I still think that, you know, in my opinion, Joshua and Wilder are 1A and 1B, and I would put Luis Ortiz at number 2. And in my opinion, I think that that Luis Ortiz victory, I honestly believe I hold in higher regard than I do that Vladimir Klitschko victory.
That's it. I agree.
Obviously, Vladimir Klitschko is a Hall of Fame fighter. Don't get me wrong. You can't sit there and look at Vladimir Klitschko and Luis Ortiz and put them in the same category in terms of legacy. There's no question you can't do that. Yeah. But at the time when Joshua fought Klitschko and at the time that Wilder fought Luis Ortiz, it's a totally different ballgame. I think I really, really am impressed with that Luis Ortiz victory. I really am.
That's why I back Wilder ahead of Joshua going at this point in time for them to fight now. If Joshua could get another fight under his belt in America, then it may tilt back to Joshua. But for now, I go Wilder. Yeah. I'll big with Wilder. I just think
I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. Before I thought it was a 60-40 fight in favor of Joshua. And the more time that goes on, like right now, I still favor Joshua, but it's like 55-45. And now that the fight's in the United States, it's as close to a 50-50 fight that you're going to get, in my opinion. That's just the way I look at it. The more time that goes by, because we've seen Joshua, you know, we've seen some of the vulnerabilities in these last couple fights. Mm-hmm. We always knew Wilder had the vulnerabilities, but we weren't as much concerned with them because he had that eraser. As big of a puncher as Joshua is, he doesn't have that eraser.
I just want to clear something up.
Like Wilder does.
I just want to clear.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just want to clear something with somebody who's come on the channel. Listen, I'm not a newbie in terms of Luis Ortiz. I'm talking to somebody on the channel, not yourself, Beeb. If you remember, it was on this channel that it was revealed almost how old Luis Ortiz was when it was Amir Mansour that broke it down. So don't anyone try and get wise now and say, oh, Luis Ortiz was an old man. Because a lot of you were looking for the information of BoxRec. So don't even go there. Carry on, Beeb. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously this is my opinion, and it could definitely be argued. I'm on the phone. Hold on. I'm sorry about that.
It's all right.
It's my stepdaughter.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah, I'm just getting to the house now. But yeah, I think people really underestimate how good of a fighter Luis Ortiz is, regardless of the age. No one wanted to fight that guy, and I guarantee you now, no one still wants to fight that guy. Why do you think Dillian White's making such a big stink that he has to fight him next?
People are saying that you sound like Teddy Atlas.
Oh, I take that as an insult. I really dislike Teddy Atlas. I really dislike Teddy Atlas as a commentator. But I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. The person that mentioned I sound like Teddy Atlas, but I try not to. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Teddy Atlas.
I don't think a lot of us, those in the know, are not very big fans of Teddy Atlas, but you know.
I respect Teddy Atlas, but I'm not a big fan of his commentary. You know, he always has an excuse why someone loses. He always questions somebody's heart. Oh, well, he has to behave like a fighter. Teddy, did you ever think that maybe the other guy is just better than him, and that's what it is? I mean, why should someone's heart be questioned every time they're in there and they're not succeeding in a fight? You have a guy that maybe just is better than you, and you're trying to do stuff, but you just can't do it. The other guy's not letting you do it, you know? And I had that Pacquiao Jeff Horn fight a draw. I thought that fight was close. I really did. I don't think Pacquiao set the world on fire in that fight. Mm. And then Teddy Atlas made it sound like if you had that fight close, or you had it for Horn or whatever, then that you were an idiot. I mean, I don't know. I just don't understand Teddy Atlas.
The great Teddy Atlas, who a lot of people were rating. I said, listen, when Teddy Atlas was training Timmy Bradley, I said, listen, under Teddy Atlas' tutelage, Bradley will be more closer to getting knocked out. And when Bradley got dropped by Pacquiao, I went back to the corner and tried to give him the whole fireman talk. I'm thinking to myself, hold on a second. You're screaming in the guy's ear.
Yeah.
Just down. Keeping him calm and quiet. You're calming this guy down. Not shouting in his ear when he's been knocked down. Teddy Atlas for you. It's all Teddy Atlas. It's all about him. Nothing to do about the fighters.
Yeah, it's all about his theatrics and his histrionics and stuff. And I just never liked the guy, you know. And I think he takes the littlest thing and tries to blow it up into making it something more important than it really is.
Off the Joshua topic for a second, I just want to hear your thoughts on Jeff Horn versus pound for pound. Jeff Horn, I've got to say, is sponsored by BoxRec, because they've got Jeff Horn as, I think, pound for pound in the top 10. I think it's 5 or 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
Ratings. Pound for pound, Jeff Horn versus Terence Crawford.
You have to. I mean, I favor Terence Crawford. Obviously, you would have to favor Terence Crawford. He's gonna, you know, he's much quicker than Manny Pacquiao. I think he's a little bit more well-rounded than Manny Pacquiao. I think Manny Pacquiao is an ambush, in and out type fighter, mid-range guy, whereas I think Terence Crawford could fight better on the outside. I think he's a little longer, taller, lankier. He can fight on the inside. He'll throw he'll throw to the body more. But, you know, Jeff Horn just has that style where I think he's gonna make every fight ugly, regardless of who he's fighting. So yeah. Crawford, I'm gonna pick Crawford to win that fight, but I think it's gonna be ugly in spots. But I think Crawford could hurt Jeff Horn, and I think Crawford. I'm gonna pick Crawford to win by late stoppage. I think he'll bloody up Jeff Horn's face. And I think if he hurts Jeff Horn, I think he'll get him out of there. But the thing I like about Crawford is, see, when he's tied up and stuff, and you know, guys try to maul him because people call him a bully, but he's been in there with bigger guys. Like Ndongo's bigger than him. Postal was a bigger guy than him. Delorme was actually a bigger guy than him. He hasn't always been.
And Prescott.
Say again.
He fought Prescott.
Yeah, Prescott was a bigger guy too. You know, and who's the other guy there he fought there? The Mexican guy that he fought one of his most recent fights
Phoenix,
there.
You're talking about?
No, the guy that's going to be fighting probably Lomachenko next. Ray Beltran. Beltran is a pretty big guy too. He's a big, strong, physical guy too. So the big thing is when Crawford when Horn tries to make this fight ugly and he starts to maul, whereas Pacquiao got frustrated by it, I think Crawford will fight out of those moments. I think he'll work on the inside, and if Horn tries to grab him, I think he'll punch his way out of those clinches, and that's what I think is going to be a big difference, because Crawford's a dog when he wants to be. He's a tough kid, man. And that's where I think the difference is. Pacquiao is a guy that doesn't like to fight those physical type fights. And Crawford really made Pacquiao uncomfortable. Whereas I think this fight could get ugly and sloppy at points, and it could be physically tough for Crawford. But because Crawford's such a dog in there, and he has the versatility to fight on the inside, and he'll work on the inside, that's where I think the difference lies in this fight. So it's going to be a tough one, but I'm going to say Crawford will win this fight by late stoppage. Probably even maybe 10th round, 11th round stoppage.
Somebody says here, can you ask Teddy? I think they're trying to be funny now. Can you ask Teddy? Can you ask Teddy about his predictions for Stevenson versus Jack?
I like Jack in that fight too, and Stevenson is definitely the guy who's a sharpshooter. Mm-hmm. He's a guy that likes to fight at a slow pace. He likes to lay back and suck you into that left hand counter. But Jack is a guy that he's a worker in there. He's a grinder, and he'll make you work. And I think the key to that fight and the game plan for Jack is going to be to fight, speed the pace of the fight up. Get inside, smother that left hand. Don't give him the space to land that left hand. And when you're in there, really go to the body and take his legs away. Yes. Because that's going to be key here. And Badou Jack is a killer fighter on the inside. He's an excellent, outstanding body puncher. So I think that fight is intriguing. It's going to be like a chess match. It's going to be like it's going to be like a cat and mouse almost. Will Stevenson be able to be like that slick guy laying back and sucking Jack into counters? Or will Jack be the guy that just catches the mouse and just pounces on Stevenson and makes him uncomfortable on the inside and grinds him out of there on the inside? It's a very, very tough matchup, but I like Jack in that matchup.
I've always said I think Jack beats Stevenson for a number of reasons. Reason number one is inactivity. I think Stevenson's been very inactive. And I think the second thing is Stevenson, although he's got that big left hand, you take that left hand away and you put Stevenson back against the ropes. Again, he's another guy that doesn't like being backed up. And Stevenson's chin is the greatest. He's not.
No, he's been stopped. He's been stopped before. He's been hurt before. He's been down before. So yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And he's 40 now. So I'm gonna go with Jack on this one. I think Jack is one of my favorite fighters at the moment. I think he does everything. He does everything right. He's become such a better fighter. He can fight on the inside. He can fight on the outside. He's good. He works the body very well. Works the head well. He puts various punches up. Very, very good fighter. One of my favorite fighters.
And he applies a lot of mental pressure too, because this is what people don't really realize a lot in a fight too. When you take a fighter who doesn't like to fight at a fast-paced fight, and you force him to do that, you take him out of his comfort zone mentally. That's draining energy out of him as well, because he's in that fight or flight state, and if you take him out of that comfort zone, he's burning up valuable adrenaline that would, as time goes on, it will weaken you, in the later rounds when you're sitting there, thinking too much and you're being forced to do something you don't want to do. And you're put in a situation where you're in mental duress. That'll wear you out just as much as getting hit with punches.
Okay. I want to ask you about a fighter that not other people talk about, and he's been under the radar. His name is Rashidi Ellis. Tell me what you know about Rashidi Ellis.
Heard the name, but to be perfectly honest with you, haven't really followed him extensively.
Okay, is
that a Mayweather Promotions fighter?
No, he was I think he signed with Top Rank or one or two Golden Boy, but he was #1 amateur in America for a while. He's a welterweight. He's fast. He's a cross between. He's built kind of like Berto, but like speed and movement like a Roy Jones. I mean that's.
I think he may have been on Showbox before. I may have seen him there.
Round, hit him on the top of the head and knocked him out in the first round. It was such a fast right hand. Boom, and the guy just went over. But yeah, Rashidi. I told everyone about Rashidi Ellis, but again, I don't know what's going on with his career. I told everyone about Crawford and we interviewed. We were lucky to interview Crawford twice on the channel.
Wow!
And when people didn't give a damn about Crawford, they were actually saying Ricky Burns was going to beat Crawford. I said, "What world are you on?" We spoke to Thurman's another one. Yeah. We spoke to before anyone's really paying Thurman any attention, before he became big time Thurman. So the thing is, I have the same hopes for Rashidi Ellis. He's a talented fighter, very talented fighter. And do you know the other thing is, today I thought about it. A young man by the name of Steve Upshur, we spoke to today, and I thought to myself, you know what? A lot of these fighters that have got like 4 or 5 losses,
yes.
Like what's his name? What's this guy's name? Truax. Guys like Truax.
Yep.
And Ray Beltran and them kind of guys. You know what? I've got more and more respect for them today, and I'll tell you why. Because they've had good times, they've had bad times, they've had testing times. And the thing about those guys is, at any given night, if you're not on your A game, if you're an Instagram fighter, if you're a social media fighter, you could come unstuck against guys like that because they're in the gym diligently training all the time. They ain't got time for the Instagram stuff. They really diligently training. They're hungry. They know what it means or what it means to them to fight. You know what I mean? And
do you remember that? Remember that guy, Freddie Pendleton, back in the day? He was the IBF lightweight champion.
Yes.
He had like 20 losses. You ever hear of him?
Yes.
That's another guy. Another guy.
So these guys, they're very much overlooked by our new school boxing fans. They overlook these guys. Oh, you got 5 losses, so you're a bum. No, you've got 5 losses, but there's different reasons why you may have 5 losses. What was your management? Did you take 2 hard fights too early in your career? Were you matched correctly? What was going on? Did you have any personal problems? No, you've lost 5 fights, you're a bum. You've lost 1 fight, you're a bum. And people are too dismissive of fighters today. And then when those fighters turn around and beat the brakes off of an unbeaten fighter, my saying is, when you've got a guy who's unbeaten, it's just they haven't met the right guy yet to beat them. That's all it is.
Yeah. What do you think of this hype surrounding this Golden Boy guy, Ryan Garcia? You hear Ryan Garcia?
Don't rate him. I never have rated him. And the thing is, I was talking to Steve Upshur about him earlier, and I'd spoken to somebody who actually was in the same gym as him, and you see him regularly beating up. He said he's just a very average fighter that's getting lots of props at the moment. That's what it is. But
they're pushing him more than guys like Jojo Diaz, and Jojo Diaz seems like to be obviously not. He's not the. I don't think he's going to beat. He's not going to beat what's his name, Russell this week, but Gary Russell. But I still think that Jojo Diaz is probably one of their best prospects that they have. One of their best up and coming fighters that they have right now, and they're giving all the shine to this Ryan Garcia guy. So, I don't know.
I don't see that, but that's the power of Instagram. You see, the power is that Instagram and social media fighter. Do you know what I mean? So you might not be able to, you might not have to fight so good, but as long as you've got good smile and you've got a bit of personality about you, and you can throw 1,000 punches around, then you're a great fighter on pads. Because that's the same thing with Chris Eubank Jr. As long as you can throw 1,000 punches in a round or on the pads, or you look good on the pads, then you're a great fighter.
What do you think of him being back in the World Boxing Super Series now? You think that was a good move? It's crazy, isn't it?
Disgrace. I mean, you think about this, right? You get beat in a tournament, like the World Cup of soccer's coming up soon, right? It's like you go to the final of the World Cup final, and one of the teams have food poisoning. So then, what you decide to do? Go and bring in the semi-finalists and bring them in. I mean,
it's horrible. At least with the original Super Six. Yeah. They would get guys, pull guys that weren't in the tournament. They didn't try to recycle guys that lost, Yeah,
but you still could. I keep saying, why are they not using Jürgen Bremer? Because he was fight Callum Smith. Why not use Jürgen Bremer?
Great point.
But you know why? I'll tell you why. Because they didn't want the Bremer fight in the first place. You remember Smith was about going to, I think he didn't want to fight Smith. Was it in Germany? He didn't want to go to Germany and fight Jürgen Bremer. And then they were saying
something like that,
yeah. And Callum Smith was going to pull out the fight and all this stuff. Next minute, Jürgen Bremer suddenly has the cold. And we haven't heard of Jürgen Bremer.
Well, let me ask you this interesting question, not to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
On paper, though, would you agree, or do you think that Callum Smith is a better matchup for Eubank Jr. than George Groves was? Because
only because I don't think Callum Smith handles pressure very well. But saying that, Eubank is a middleweight that's moved up to super middleweight, but he's not a big super middleweight.
Yes.
Callum Smith is a guy who could fight light heavy at cruiserweight. So on the night, Eubank's going to be facing a guy who could be more or less a light heavyweight or a cruiserweight in there on the night, or cruiserweight on the night. And he has a problem with the jab. And Callum Smith has got a good jab.
Major problem.
And Smith is a good body puncher as well. He's a very good body puncher. If Eubank can push Smith to the ropes and keep him on the ropes, then Eubank has a good chance. But if he allows the fight being center of the ring, you can forget it. And I think Smith has a better chance of knocking Eubank out than Groves or Saunders ever had, because I think Smith will set his punches up a lot better. I think he'll throw his body shots. I could see Eubank going over to one of them body shots because Smith is a wicked body puncher. A wicked body puncher. But it just...
So Eubank has no shot.
I think Eubank has a shot. But it's how much...
But it's slim. It's slim. Yeah, slim.
Yeah, well, it depends. Because if... Again, Smith, I don't think handles pressure very well. So if Smith takes the fight in the center of the ring, I think Smith wins the fight. But if Smith allows Eubank to bully him against the ropes and starts landing one of them wild shots on him, if Smith is the boxer I think he is, then he should not succumb to Eubank's antics. He shouldn't. But if Smith allows you...
But you know what?
Go on.
Oh, go ahead, finish.
If Smith allows Eubank to get on the inside of him, then he deserves to get he deserves to get pummeled. For a guy that big and them long arms to allow Eubank to get in him like that, no, that shouldn't be happening. Shouldn't be happening.
But here's a difference I noticed between Smith and Groves, because Groves is very crafty and he changes up the look a lot and he changes up the rhythm of his punches. Whereas when I watch Smith, as good of his jab as he has a pretty solid, stiff, hard jab. But he throws it at the same speed all the time, same rhythm. Doesn't throw a feint behind it. Like Groves will sometimes, he'll throw a feeler out there, then he'll like throw like a feeler, and then he'll throw a snapping one right behind it. Sometimes he'll throw a jab, then throw a feint, then throw another jab. Whereas I notice, Smith is just the same rhythm of his punches all the time, somewhat
predictable.
Yeah, predictable and more of like a pattern type fighter, whereas Groves is constantly, giving you a feint, constantly, shifting his shoulders, giving you a different look all the time, moving his feet, constantly forcing you to reset a little bit, whereas Smith doesn't do that a lot.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm one of Smith's harshest critics, but you say that, but Smith, Groves, and Saunders all have something in common. And do you know what that common denominator is?
They all have good jabs.
Experience.
That too?
Amateur experience. They all fought at a very high level in the amateurs. Eubank Jr. didn't. And it's that boxing.
Good point.
It's that boxing ability, that fundamental boxing ability that Eubank up to this day hasn't got. So if the wild swings don't work, then is that same methodical behavior that Callum Smith has got, and that good boxing brain that Callum Smith has got, is that enough? Is that amateur experience enough for him? And the thing is, you talk about Groves. Here's a guy in Groves who has been knocked out on more than one occasion, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so Groves always fights for apprehension. So he fights for apprehension, Groves. And Smith stops a lot of people with body shots, But the only concern I've got about Smith is he tight at the weight? I mean,
that's a good point.
He hasn't looked great in the last couple of fights. Is that because the level of opposition has gotten better, or is it just because he's struggling at the weight?
He's a big guy, isn't he?
He's a very big guy, 6'3".
He is a big guy. He's a big guy. He's thick too. You can see on the night how big he is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, that's going to be the biggest guy Eubank's fought. He's the biggest guy Eubank's fought. So, he'll be bigger than Groves, bigger than and Eubank's punching power. I mean, can he hurt Callum Smith?
Well, see, Callum Smith's definitely more durable than George Groves. He's bigger. He's probably physically stronger, and on the inside, I think it's a totally different ball game. too, because I think Eubank likes to have a little bit of space. He's another one of those guys I'd throw in the mid-range area type style fighter, and he's an in and out guy too. He's a guy that uses a lot of excessive movement too, and not all of it, really is needed. I think he's a guy that does a little bit too much movement in there. If you want me to be honest, and Callum Smith, I think will probably wear him out if he fights a physical fight on the inside. And I think we saw how Groves kind of tied up Eubank, and he was able to hold him and contain him, and we saw that kind of wear Eubank down too. So this could be a grueling fight again for Eubank with a bigger guy.
Who's the bigger puncher, Smith, Groves, or Saunders?
Out of all three of them, it's tough. Maybe Smith I would edge a little bit because he's so big and strong. But Groves has a real sharp right hand. He has a real sharp right hand. But I probably edge Smith.
Yeah. And then who
would you say? Who would you say?
I'm gonna go with Smith. His body work.
Yeah, Smith.
I like Smith's body work.
Yeah. I
like Smith's body work. I really do. And I think it's the body you've got to go to, Eubank, not the chin. It's the body you got to go. You got to go to.
Yeah.
Guy's got a good chin. You go to his body. And I think Smith's a better body puncher than Groves is.
You think Smith hits harder than Groves?
I think he works the body better than Groves for this fight. I think he works the body better than Groves.
So you think he could hurt Eubank more than Groves did?
I think so. To the body, absolutely. Absolutely.
I agree.
I mean, if you're working. If his style will be 1-2 left hook to the body. You know what I mean? Well, if he gets Eubank up against the ropes, you will learn left hook to the body. And I'd like to see how Eubank responds to a good body puncher. And Smith is a very good.
Yeah. So in every exchange, he'll make a point to at least drop one of those left hooks to the body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember he was knocking certain guys out with just left hooks to the body. Boom, boom, left hook. And he'd be doubling up. I mean, as he's moved up in class, it hasn't happened. But what class is Chris Eubank Jr.? I mean, he's getting beat by Billy. He's getting beat by George Groves.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's
he should have went back down to 160, but it wouldn't have been easier for him at 160 either. Because there's a lot of guys down there that could beat him as well.
Can you imagine Eubank versus Charlo?
I think Charlo would knock him out. I do.
I'd love to see the fight, though.
I still would, yeah.
What about Eubank versus Gennady Golovkin?
Golovkin, by murder.
By murder.
I don't see that fight as being competitive.
Well, according to his father, he said he could see something. He could see how his son could beat Golovkin.
Wow. It's crazy, isn't it?
It is indeed. It is indeed. Beeb, thank you so much for being on the channel. And
thank you, brother. We'll hook up again.
We need to do it again very soon.
All right, man. You have a great night. I'll talk to you.
Take care, champ.
All right. Be good.
Take care, champ. So there you have it. We just had Joe Habeeb on the channel, the Beeb. Check out his YouTube channel. It's great when you can do crossovers with people like the Beeb. This is it from us, BWTM Sports, and myself, the Beeb. Check him out. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. I'm out. Have a good evening.